Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. I'm excited to be here virtually. I'm sorry that I can't be there in person to present live, but I'm really happy for this opportunity. So let's get started. I am the Director of Green Infrastructure for West Consultants, an engineering consulting firm specializing in advanced water resource investigations. And although I'm based in Portland, Oregon, a lot of the work I do is with our Red Rock office outside of Tucson, Arizona. And we do work throughout the West Coast, Pacific Northwest, arid Southwest, as well as throughout the US and occasionally internationally as well. Our office specializes in land management as an alternative to traditional civil engineering practices, and it's something we're really excited to be working on and offer, and we're going to share a lot of those best practices today as we focus on one of our core areas around soil health best practices with different techniques such as holistic land management, holistic plant grazing, and green infrastructure. So let's jump into some SOILutions for sustainable stormwater management, and definitely far, far beyond. It's a very exciting topic near and dear to my heart. So please, if you're ever in Arizona, in the Tucson area or Phoenix, come on down to our Red Rock demonstration site where we're showcasing our land management practices and have public tours. And we demonstrate the two main tools that can be scaled and implemented for a variety of contexts. I think it's really important that these tools can operate from small urban landscapes down to the square foot level, all the way up to large rural or agricultural landscapes and large watershed scales up to the square mile. We are square miles even. We've worked on many large and small projects. We use liquid and solid and biological soil amendments created from aerobic compost. You can see our brewer there. And we also use animal impact as another tool for holistic land management, using the right animals and the right number of the right species for the right amount of time for the goals of the land. So we really try to tune our tools and techniques to be appropriate for the goals and outcomes that we're working on. So I wanted to share why soil health. This is the circle of life. Sorry, I'm not Elton John. That was my best. But I really do believe this is, it's really important to embrace the full cycle of life, and that's what soil health work does. It's very exciting. And through that, the opportunity by enhancing our soils, we are able to mitigate flooding, erosion, dust storms, all kinds of other challenges, from creating drought resilience and reducing the impacts of extreme heat events. And really, it's a wonderful tool in the face of the challenges created by climate change and human development that are increasing a lot of these risks and issues faced by communities. As well as, I think, an important one to mention, the use of chemicals in our daily lives and landscapes, whether they're synthetic or organic. They are having negative impacts on the microbiomes of our life, whether it's our bodies, our communities, and our soils. So from a personal level, I've really embraced this work, and my father actually passed away recently, and my wife was diagnosed with cancer, and this is after years of dealing with several autoimmune conditions. And through it all, my son and I have learned to play and laugh, and we're usually covered in some sort of earthen material in the process. And I think one of the things that I've really taken to heart is the need for death to create and support life. And from my own experience, I've learned to acknowledge this more and more, and the more I've been able to do that, I feel like the more I'll be able to breathe life into my work. And I think soil health work is a beautiful embrace of life and death, using the conditions to create oxygen, water, and sunlight that create the conditions for life from death. So it's a really beautiful embrace of all the things that we need to live and thrive. So today, takeaways. We need to learn to embrace and celebrate death in order to bring more life into the world. I think that's clearly important as water resource professionals, and really in any profession, in my opinion. Related to soil health, not all compost is created equal, and I'll go into the details of that. And wherever there are human-produced chemicals being used, oftentimes, if maybe not always, nature or biology can do better. So what can healthy soil do? Here are two pictures of some farm fields with low organic matter and high organic matter that have been built up from best practices, just showing massive amounts of infiltration where you have higher soil organic matter. So this presents tremendous opportunity where we need infiltration and to also address soil water holding capacity for cases where there may not be irrigation or periods of drought and water scarcity. On average, you can see the statistic that 1% increase in soil organic matter over an acre will hold approximately 20,000 gallons. There have been estimates much higher. We use a conservative estimate of 20,000 gallons. So my head is over the water, 20,000 gallons of water per acre. So that's a really important statistic as we think about using biological soil health practices to improve our projects and the work that we do. Another tool in the toolkit is holistic land management, and on the pictures you see there are conventional stocking of animals on the land, where we're actually talking about mimicking predator-prey relationships in a way that stimulates the vitality of the ecology. So it's large amounts of animal that are appropriate for the right amount of time. So it's not animals spread out over long periods of time and just eating what they like, and that's a way that degrades the landscape. And there's good evidence and science that show the benefits of increasing soil organic matter and other beneficial needs for things like improving water quality and drought mitigation and enhancing infiltration. And so this is appropriate use of animals at the right time, appropriately managed for the goals and context that are present on the land and in the community. So our modeling is a theoretical model showing the existing conditions of a lot of water coming out of these channels in an arid land south of Tucson. And our theoretical proposed conditions showing a lot of that being infiltrated in the land by enhancing soil organic matter. And this creates healthier watershed conditions, improved water quality, and the goal for this was to enhance the health of the downstream riparian and river corridor. Also, as a part of that, we modeled the potential for our expected outcomes to basically the delta between the red and the green is showing if we were to have land management practices out there from a holistic perspective, there is a potential to increase recharge up to 227 acre-feet in that particular watershed. And this is just an example of the potential that we're working through currently right now, verifying and validating in the field. We've got animals out on the land, and we've been working with landowners, the flood control district down there. And so it's an exciting project that in the years to come, we'll be able to take some of our modeling and verify those with in-field measurements and verification. Another application of the use of animals, this is by far my favorite acronym, so CHOMP and STOMP. Let me give it a try. Comprehensive Herbaceous Optimization Management Plan and Strategic Trampling of Organic Matter Properly. I can't take full credit for that part. That was a colleague from the Pima County Regional Flood Control District, but we did a demonstration project using these animals pictured here, and those are their real names, to look at invasive species that were clogging a drainage channel and use them as an alternative to chemical and mechanical treatment. So it could be right use, right species, right density for the right amount of time, address the invasive species and actually advance the restoration goals of the site, mitigate dust, reduce flooding, and create other water quality benefits by enhancing native vegetation and eliminating the use of chemicals on the land. So what did things look like after a short period of time? Boom. This was 4 to 5 feet of invasive grasses that they came in, and within about an hour and a half, it's a pretty small pen, but this was the drainage corridor that needed to be treated initially, and then they would be moved again. But they were able to address this very rapidly, and what's great is this isn't going to be a one and done treatment. They'll come in again, and the idea is to take the energy out of the invasive species, the undesirable species, but create the conditions for the natives to come back. So what causes these invasive grasses to come? Usually, in this case, it was poor compacted soils, devoid of ecology and biology, lots of dust blowing, very challenging soil and landscape. And so by having the dung, urine, saliva inoculate the soils, the natives with some seeding and can help support the native plants to outcompete the invasive species in the long term. So we're very excited about this kind of application. I think it has a wide opportunity for drainage channels, agricultural lands, other places where invasive species are present, even down to just mowing people's lawn. You know, it's a tremendous, I think it's so beautiful to see animals out just eating grass. And so the more I think we can replace noisy gas-powered machines with calm, quiet animals doing their job, multiple benefits for just replacing a noisy gas-powered lawnmower creating dust. Sounds like a good deal to me. I wanted to talk about another example. This is a beautiful scenic downtown Phoenix right-of-way near a church that we partnered with a number of years ago. And this is what a little bit of soil health plus careful planning for stormwater infiltration and no irrigation system in downtown Phoenix. This is what you get. This is about 2.5 years after installation, and it was established by hand watering by the church. And this is in a place with 3 to 6 inches of rain and over 100 inches of evaporation a year. So major arid land, urban environments, super hot pavement, and you get a beautiful, beautiful urban tree canopy fed exclusively by stormwater. And this was with curb cuts, and these are the first curb cuts actually in Phoenix. And all we added was some basic mulch. There weren't a lot of biological soil amendments that I'll get into some more details later. But if I were to improve this project, we could do some water trucking to help establish the vegetation with liquid biological soil amendments mixed in to give a better boost for that landscape. So what is healthy soil? What do I mean when I talk about that? We think of native adapted vegetation above, very deep, thick roots below that are building very powerful relationships, and that is all fed by complex, diverse fungal life. So the image showing the tree, there's a successional pattern here where we have to think about many of the places we're dealing with in urban landscapes are these barren, rocky, compacted urban soils, or maybe we're dealing with a compacted urban or rural ag soils. Many landscapes have these very desolate soils, and so our goal is to think about how can we get from a less complex to a very complex, or whatever the goal may be. If it's grasslands or the desired species and ecology is forest land, we can design our soil mixes and amendments and compost appropriately. But these are the major important components. And I think it's important to note that as you get from a more barren landscape to a more complex, it's the fungal to bacterial ratio increases to more than 1. So it means there's more fungal activity than bacterial the more complex you get. So we really try to build those fungal relationships in the soil and in the amendments that we create. That's a really important aspect of it, in addition to general diversity. But the fungal life is very critical and important to learn to create, enhance, and maintain. So this is a great graphic of the soil food web, and as I think about this, in our green infrastructure facilities and other landscape restoration projects, this is what nature has designed. How on earth can we expect plants to do well when we create these very unrobust soilscapes for them to live in? And so I think we have tremendous opportunity to utilizing this model in the landscapes that we create to meet our engineering services to improve water quality, enhance infiltration, and create the communities that we want. So the soil food web is what we think about when we're designing these projects and adding to these projects. So again, what is healthy soil? This work is based largely on the work developed by Dr. Elaine Ingham at Soil Food Web, and the minimum biological requirements are initial starting places that have been defined to create minimum biomass in both liquid and solid amendments that we create. So we're trying to make sure that there are a lot of good materials. And this is an important thing to notice here. If you look at our custom-made sample, this is our own compost that we tested. It's fairly robust in terms of having more bacterial and fungal biomass. And then we also have higher counts of beneficials, and they're all ciliates are something you kind of want to, if you have higher beneficials, ciliates aren't as much of a problem, but it's something you want to keep an eye on. But what's important to note is if you look at like a typical municipal compost, this is a great opportunity to enhance what we're doing. Compost obviously needs to minimize the bad things, metals, pathogens, and that's what you get in typically certified compost. And that's what are in our standards for bioretention soil mixes. But we also, in my opinion, need to think about what are the good things we need to include, and that's where these minimum biological requirements come in. So this is where I think our opportunities come in to enhance our standards. So this is a very rigorous process. We've got our brewer. That's not your tea or coffee. I mean, you could, if you want to drink the Kool-Aid, we'll serve you up some compost tea. But we have our own lab that's certified and certified lab tech, where we monitor our products very carefully. It's very important to have appropriate counts to make sure all the good things are happening and none of the bad things are happening. So it's all about keeping things aerobic, the right ingredients, and making sure we know what our goals are, and then aiming to exceed those goals, so we have some layer of safety in the performance that we get in the ultimate landscape that we want to produce. So biological soil amendments, these are key. This is one of the two tools that I mentioned earlier on. These are the biologically active products that we create with local ingredients. So I think a really important part of what we do is we are making things locally from local ingredients that are born, bred, and thrive in the local conditions. So if you're into compost or compost tea, you may have heard of bugs in a jug or other off-the-shelf products that I verifiably create benefit, but what we're doing is different, and it's also part of a different system where we're taking resources that are very focused on creating an ecological benefit. We're not creating just a regular compost facility where our goal is volume reduction, and that's why in that previous slide you saw it's very bacterially dominated. It's all based on volume reduction, where we are trying to create an ecological benefit through the soil food web processes and the complexity that's needed that nature has created. So we're really just trying to mimic and accelerate natural processes, and when we do that locally, we can create the best chance for our plants, landscapes, and soils to do the things we expect. And we even go as far as taking specific plant palettes and creating mixes that thrive based on what's on the specific roots of native plants that we find out in nature, that we then cultivate and enhance what they're doing. So we find landscapes that are doing well, benchmark landscapes, and then we use that as a way to create better products for the projects that we create in the future. Here's a great shot of one of our sprayers at a park in the city of Tucson. So they have opted to completely eliminate the use of chemicals, and we are working with them to create two completely chemical-free parks there. So it's very exciting. Unfortunately, I don't have the results right now. They are literally being worked on as we speak. But what is very exciting is that, and actually I can send out to this group a report that will share those updates when they're ready. But what we're finding is these amendments are fantastic at breaking up compaction. The biology can do that on its own. We also have other tools if compaction is serious. But what we find are the existing soils are compacted and dead, but they actually have decent soil organic matter. And that's interesting. We didn't expect that because this is in Tucson, very hot, dry, desert soils, but it's a great landscape to then use our liquid amendments. So that's what we've been doing, and it's going very well, and we look forward to reporting on the more quantitative results in the future. But I think we're on a great start to giving parks chemical-free alternatives to their fertilizers, mineral amendments, and other things that we're in creating long-term assets that are improving infiltration and water holding capacity and reducing the need for water in the landscape. So a big part of what we're doing, I think, is supporting different systems. We want to be moving towards regenerative, not going out in hazmat suits and spraying things that we don't feel good about our children going and playing in a park. I think that we all feel that way. So we want to go from systems that are supported by fossil fuels and create noise and dust and pollutants, compaction, and increase drought and wildfire risk. That's a major concern, and reduce biological capacity. Then as we move towards these regenerative systems, relying on renewable energy, creating food and natural fertilizers, educating the community on these practices. One of the hopes and goals of our program is to use these animals in communities to provide therapy. A lot of the people that we work with are engaged in those practices already, so it's an exciting opportunity to create more community benefit that way, while also reducing drought, wildfire risk, and then the overall enhancement of biological capacity. So that's the direction we want to go as a company, the communities that we work in, and that's what we're supporting. So really the applications are endless. This is a beautiful turf lawn, a picture I took in Germany. I think it's just a fantastic example of a park that had been freshly mowed, and you can see the incredible diversity. And I've talked to the people who maintain this site. They never spray anything, and you get this. So in some way, and they actually mow with sheep. So in the long term, we don't really need the biological soil amendments. Animals can play that role, but the BSAs, as we call them, are like the probiotics. So we can use them anywhere in these places, and there's a tremendous opportunity, I think, especially in our green stormwater infrastructure, where the specs we have currently, they perform well in certain parameters, but there's not any criteria for biology. So I think that's really our opportunity to innovate. So that's what I just said, and I think this is an opportunity to improve the health of our communities, and in the end, really create the systems that we want. Circular economies, circular systems that are enhancing each other, working with nature, and in the end, that's going to reduce our costs for the services we provide and the infrastructure we need as communities. So thank you so much for listening. This has been exciting to put together. And if there are any questions, feel free. Oh, I see my email has been blocked by my big head. So it's ksikdar@westconsultants.com. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and we'll share future information and results as it's available, and feel free to reach out and if you're interested in learning more and talking about soil. I love nerding out about it. Thank you so much for your time and attention.